And today they've got 19,000 members. And I'm still the only black member. And I said, wait, I don't understand. And as I traveled to Florida and Georgia and California and Washington and Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania and New York and North and South Carolina, I found the same. That there was a major lack of involvement of people of color and poor people in the movement. But after searching the country, I came to the realization that it was not a color thing. Because I visited the borders along Texas and Mexico and saw that the people that were most exploited and not involved were brown people. And then I went into urban communities of America, in Chicago, South Side, South Central LA, Ninth Ward, New Orleans. And the people that were most impacted by poor environmental practices but were not involved were poor and black. But then I made a trip to West Virginia, coal-mining country, where people that suffered the most from poor environmental practices were poor and white. And so the common issue is that they were poor. And did it mean that companies set out every day to exploit people? Absolutely not. What it meant was that to satisfy America's appetite for energy, it was at a cost. And those that lived in closest proximity to those industries suffered the most. And what we strive to achieve today is a balance. We want to meet America's energy needs, but we want to do it in a way that is both people and environmentally friendly. We must diversify our energy portfolio to where we're not one-dimensional with respect to our energy needs. Imagine, back in 2005 when Hurricane Katrina hit the coast, every oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico was shut down. 33% of our domestic energy supply was shut down. And you saw the result of the gas pump. Imagine if on that same day Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, where we import 30% of our fossil fuel, or the prime ministers and premiers of Saudi Arabia and Iraq and Iran and Nigeria and Russia, where we import so much of our energy, what if they on the same day that Katrina hit would have said close the valve? America would have been brought to its knees. With that said, we must diversify our energy portfolio to where we're not one-dimensional with respect to our energy. We must invest in solar and wind and biofuels and hybrid cars and conservation. If we would all conserve, we wouldn't have a problem. If we would all change the light bulbs in our homes to be more energy efficient, and if we could all afford to buy energy efficient vehicles, if we would turn our computers off at night and not leave our cell phone chargers plugged up even when the phone's not plugged to it, if we would weatherize our homes, if we would do carbon discharge checks and evaluations on our college campuses to determine the carbon footprint of our campuses and adjust it accordingly, if we would build public buildings more energy efficient and reduce the carbon discharges, recognizing that 40% of our energies are used in buildings and 45% of the CO2 to the atmosphere comes from supplying energy to buildings, if we would make these conservation adjustments, we would not have a problem with respect to our energy. But because we have not, we must diversify. But we must also take advantage of this new green opportunity to stimulate the American economy. Caterpillar plant in West Lafayette, Indiana laid off 20,000 workers. Home Depot, 10,000. Macy's, 9,000. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And the greatest and fastest growing population of poor people in this country are working Americans, hard-working Americans, who have worked on jobs from generation to generation who have through generations enjoyed benefits that they can retire and enjoy the fruits of their labor. And now we are faced with an America in cities like Flint, Michigan, and Bloomington, Illinois, and Lake Charles, Louisiana, and Murray, where people are suffering because of a floundering economy, where people are suffering because of high energy costs. 50% of the income of poor people is spent to pay for energy. We must make energy more affordable to the poor. We encourage people to buy and drive more energy efficient cars. Go out and buy a Prius. Poor people can't afford Prius. So we must now change the way we do things in this country. Instead of spending huge amounts of public money on subsidies and tax breaks to big oil companies, companies like ExxonMobil, who have enjoyed a quarterly profit of $40 billion in one quarter, the largest quarterly profit of any company in history. $1,200 a second. Instead of investing and giving subsidies to those companies. And we're not about and should not be about punishing companies for making money. That's the American dream. But we should take those subsidies and tax breaks and invest in Americans, the regular people in America, who desire to reduce their energy costs, or who desire to open up a small green business in a city like Murray. We should be able to invest subsidies and tax breaks into city governments to assist those city governments in promoting economic development within the communities. And if we're going to pay industry huge subsidies and tax breaks, why not give them the money to promote alternative energy to diversify their energy portfolio? British Petroleum has done it, changed their slogan to Beyond Petroleum, and is now one of the largest producers of solar panels in the world. And I believe we have an opportunity here, not just in urban communities and large cities, but in small town America, to turn this country around in a way like never before, to re-energize this country, to create new resources of energy, not to put the coal companies and the oil companies out of business, but to promote research and development that will help them operate cleaner. We cannot be anti-coal because companies and people depend on the coal industry for jobs. But what we can be is pro-clean coal. We are not there yet. We must develop systems within the coal industry that will help us sequester the carbon so that we can use coal effectively and also create mechanisms to where we don't destroy the earth in the mining of the product. We must make sure that any industry that we make a part of this diversified energy portfolio must be both environmentally and people-friendly. There is no reason why the petrochemical industry cannot operate with a closed-loop system to where there's zero discharge. We can produce our products and save the environment at the same time. We do not have the luxury or the time for mistake. The earth is melting right in front of us. Global warming is accelerating at a rate, and climate change is accelerating at a rate that is beyond our belief. The documentary An Inconvenient Truth taught us the plight of the planet. How many of you have seen An Inconvenient Truth? How many have not seen An Inconvenient Truth? An Inconvenient Truth was a documentary that was done by Vice President Al Gore to really lay out the plight of the planet with respect to climate change and where we are with respect to global warming, how we've gotten to where we are. And folks, the planet is melting. There are two critically important reasons why you must see An Inconvenient Truth. The first reason why you must see the documentary, and you can buy it in Walmart, you can get it at the video stores, you must see An Inconvenient Truth because it is going to open your eyes in a major way as to where we are with respect to global